So good. Chris Garrett says I got the status quo text from that number. So yeah, that is in fact the number, and we will figure out how to join it because, and again, we are going on the reporting road trip next week, starting on Monday. So right now we are lining up interviews and lining up our schedule. So I'm really excited. No, timid giant, of course your number will not be sold to a third party. Never, ever. Your number is safe with us for sure. So Colin, I want to start things off by showcasing Jordan's article that we posted on our new Status Substack. If you haven't signed up for our Status Substack, it's just like any other newsletter. You can sign up for free. There are paid options as well, where we will have some special features and paid newsletter subscriber features only. But you can access, I think, 3 in the past week, 3 great original articles that Jordan has reported and written, and quite shocking stuff. He's been focusing on Amazon reporting and working with not working with, but working with the sources to get information on what's happening there in the warehouses as far as union busting. You guys know what happened in Bessemer. So now they're trying to organize in Staten Island, New York. Chris Smalls is part of that, if you're all familiar with that. David Soul, $5 the super chat. Thank you. Just how does a political party expect a long-term survival when it tries to embrace Republicans like Manchin, the Squad, Bernie, and actual lefties? Yeah, I don't think that the political party, I guess I don't know exactly, based on how you phrase this, I don't know exactly what you mean, but as far as Dems and Republicans, I don't think they're worried about long-term survival. I think they know they have it in the bag. If you're talking about how to kind of break away from that and then survive, that's a whole other story, because those, the 2 parties don't allow that to happen. They won't allow any progressive change to happen. If I didn't quite understand your question, just re-ask it. You don't have to pay again, but give it a shot. So, okay, Colin, if you can go ahead and put up Jordan's article, I'm going to read through it and stop at some points along the way. So this is what he put out today. Again, you guys can read along as well at statuscoup.substack.com. Joe Manchin silent as West Virginia Democrats ram through affirmative action plan without consulting Black leadership. So this is a situation where there have been, calls to consult Black leadership and make sure that policies and things that are going through, legislation that's going through, has consulted Black leadership, has consulted Hispanics and people of color. And so through pressure, as you'll see, this was supposed to happen, but that is not at all what happened. What actually happened is shocking. Here's one of the quotes from later on in the article. Why are white people drafting a plan for Hispanics and Black people? West Virginia Dems member Susan Miley shot back in a wild June 3rd meeting. And when Jordan says wild June 3rd meeting, he means a wild June 3rd meeting. The entire 2-hour meeting is posted at the bottom of this article. I've watched part of it. Jordan watched the entire thing. It is crazy. It is crazy what they did to these people. Without further ado, the June 3rd West Virginia State Executive Committee meeting started off well enough. State Party Chairwoman Belinda Biafor, a close ally of West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, introduced 2 new members to the Executive Committee, Hollis Lewis and Mary Thorpe. Lewis and Thorpe also serve as co-chairs for the newly formed State Affirmative Action Committee. So this is going to become very important throughout the article, is this newly formed State Affirmative Action Committee, which Lewis and Thorpe are co-chairs of. which seems like a great step, right? I'm so excited to be here. This is historic. And I think what we're doing now is moving this party, and eventually we're going to move this state in the right direction, Lewis, an African American, said when introduced. The introductions were 46 years in the making. In 1976, the DNC's charter directed all state parties to create an affirmative action committee and plan. But West Virginia Democrats never formed the committee or plan, only conceding in March to activists and Progressive Party members' pressure for the state party to follow the DNC's directive from decades ago. So there's part of the problem right there. It's taken them this long to take the step that they were supposed to take in the 70s. In the 70s, folks, the 1970s. Continuing on, preceding the executive committee meeting was the first meeting of the AAC on June 2nd. Multiple sources told Status Quo that after the state party bylaws were changed on March 15th to begin the process of forming the AAC, with a deadline 2 months later, Chairwoman Biafour sat on her hands. Biafour expedited the process only after a state party member sent her a frustrated email on April 30th, with the DNC chair, Jamie Harrison, and other national DNC members copied, about the lack of action on the formation of the AAC and other diversity committees. So you folks can head on over to statusquo.substack.com and read that. Over an hour later, the state party sent out an email announcing details of the AAC, including how co-chairs and at-large members will be selected. At the June 2nd AAC meeting, Biafour presented AAC members with an affirmative action plan that was constructed with no input from the AAC, which of course is a violation. And the AAC unanimously rejected that plan. She ignored it as if it did not exist. AAC co-chair Mary Thorpe told Status Quo about Chairwoman Biafour's response to the AAC rejecting the plan. It was never mentioned by her. Following the AAC rejecting Biafour's plan, the state executive committee held a meeting the next day that was aired live on YouTube. That's that 2-hour stream referenced earlier. The key agenda item was a vote on the affirmative action plan. At the beginning of the June 3rd Zoom meeting, Biafour set the tone by blocking the 6 at-large members of the AAC, 2 of whom are African American, from joining the meeting. So they're literally blocking out during a vote related to an affirmative action plan, blocking out Black people. Explaining that the 6 at-large AAC members would be let into the meeting after the vote on the affirmative action plan, thus eliminating the chance for their objections to the affirmative action plan. To me, it was just very dismissive. The party itself waited 46 years in order to implement this. And now, after these 46 years, you can't then turn around and say, well, we know what's best and we're going to write this for you. AAC co-chair Hollis told Status Quo. When Chairwoman Biafour tried to proceed to vote on the plan with the at-large members still blocked from entering the meeting, AAC co-chair Thorpe tried to interject. She was met with angry pushback from Biafour. Excuse me, I'm talking about what the plan is about, the chairwoman shot back. Thorpe was shocked by Biafour's heavy-handed attempt to pass an affirmative action plan without input from AAC members. I don't know anybody that can watch that who wouldn't be shocked out of their mind, Thorpe told Status Quo, adding that Biafour's actions exuded arrogance. It matches up with all the stuff that Joe Manchin is doing. It's like, what is he doing this for? He keeps saying he's doing it for the people of West Virginia. What people of West Virginia? As Biafour ignored Thorpe's objection, she claimed that the passage of the plan, already unanimously rejected by the AAC, would not preclude AAC members from making amendments to the plan in the future. So, trying to placate people, of course. She then called for a vote. Pushback erupted among white and minority executive committee members. It defeats the purpose of having an affirmative action committee if they don't have input on the affirmative action plan, state party member Walt Allville objected. But BF4 held fast to keeping the 6 at-large AAC members out of the meeting until the vote on the affirmative action plan. Who does this woman think she is? What is she doing? This is insane. This is crazy. How is this not on CNN? Thank goodness for Status Coup. Thank goodness for Jordan's hard work on this. We don't know who these people are, party member Teddy Grogan, another white woman, said in support of BF4. Think about that. We don't know who these people are. What? Wow. She requested biographies for the AAC members to learn what they bring to the table for the committee. What a racist, just awful person. This is unbelievable. There are no words for how this person on the Democrat side thinks that she's not being racist, that BF4 and this Teddy Grogan think they're not being racist. We don't know who these people are, what they bring to the table, but because, they're Black, therefore they have to be locked out of the meeting. Susan Miley, a Latina state party member, responded with disgust. I can't even comprehend us not seating the members of an affirmative action committee prior to voting on the affirmative action plan when they're the ones that are supposed to be creating the affirmative action plan. I think it looks horribly bad. And others, of course, objected, why are white people drafting a plan for Hispanics and Black people? AAC co-chair Hollis Lewis said, you can't draft something on behalf of us. And this here is Hollis. This is the meeting. It was, of course, a Zoom meeting, as things are these days. Lewis said the meeting's attempt to signal diversity while blocking input from minority voices on an affirmative action plan is part of a wider pattern of the state party straddling the line between messaging on diversity while not alienating Republican voters. So that's what it comes down to. Why is Joe Manchin not speaking out on this? Well, first of all, he's a Republican. He's not a Democrat. Second of all, this is West Virginia. It's a more conservative Republican type state. But these people just going all the way up to Joe Biden, going back to Hillary Clinton, rather than courting progressives, they courted Republicans. Hillary said, she didn't need Bernie supporters. She didn't need progressives. That's what these folks think as well, except in this case, it's outright racist. It's not even veiled. Oh, we don't need these Black people to create this affirmative action plan that is almost 50 years late in being created. As the contentious executive committee meeting went on, party members who were fiercely objecting to AAC members being blocked from the meeting were finding their Zoom microphones muted. Why am I constantly being muted? Walt Allville asked. AAC co-chair Thorpe pointed out that the 6 at-large members have been relegated to the Zoom waiting room throughout the meeting. If that isn't discrimination, I don't know what is, Thorpe said. Chairwoman BF4 shot back that the affirmative action plan has to pass during the meeting, as the deadline to submit to the DNC was the next day. That's the way it has to work, BF4 snapped back after AAC co-chair Thorpe said that's not how it works. She doubled down, insisting it was a draft, etc., etc. Finally, 56 minutes into the 2-hour meeting, dissenting state party members finally forced a change to the meeting agenda that would allow the locked out at-large members to join the meeting before the vote on the affirmative action plan. But once the locked out at-large members had finally been let into the meeting, the majority of their Zoom mics were muted without them having the ability to unmute themselves. I hope you all know how ridiculous we look to everyone watching on YouTube. This is the party we love so much. Are you freaking kidding me? A meeting participant off screen said. The meeting moved onto a motion on whether to table the vote on the affirmative action meeting, a motion that failed. It gets worse. It gets worse, folks. After a wildly contentious meeting, the end served as the most jarring. After a white member was allowed to submit an amendment to the affirmative action plan, that would make the plan stipulate that it is an early draft, Marianne Clater, an African-American, attempted to submit an amendment, pointing out that she kept having her microphone muted. But BF4 shot her down. We've discussed this round and round. Nick moved that. We put it to a vote, so that's what we're going to do. I'm imagining Miss Trunchbull right now, this woman. Claytor responded, okay, so that means we don't have any voice in this. I don't even know why you guys have a Black Caucus. As a Black American, this is a slap in the face. As a Black West Virginian, this is a slap in the face, AAC co-chair Lewis shouted. The West Virginia State Democratic Party, Senator Joe Manchin, and the DNC did not respond to requests for comment from Status Coup. And on this page, you can watch the full 2-hour meeting if you indeed have the stomach to watch such a meeting. So I think it's pretty clear what's going on here. As I stated earlier, this is not even veiled racism. Let me pop this direct link into the chat for you folks. This isn't veiled racism. This is disgusting. This is outright, they literally segregated the AAC members, not the modern day digital Zoom version, I guess, which is so bizarre, and didn't let them in. And then when they finally felt they had to, they were muted. And then anyone who tried to speak up with them was muted as well. How is this not all over the news? How are West Virginia politicians and other Democratic politicians not being forced to speak on this? Why aren't journalists talking about this? Why is Status Quo the only outlet talking about this? This is disgusting. And you think it's the only place that something like this is happening? Of course not. Of course not. It's entirely racist. It's extremely disgusting. And we're absolutely going to stay on this story. Jordan and myself, with John on the camera, we're going on the reporting tour, the road trip tour. So West Virginia is one of our stops. And we are absolutely going to report in person on what's happening with the West Virginia Dems, what's happening with Joe Manchin, along with the eviction moratorium ending, along with unemployment ending. In some cases, in some GOP states like mine, Larry Hogan, ending unemployment early. So I encourage you guys to pay attention to our infield reporting trip. We are being totally throttled, but we do want to keep bringing you more on this story. Jordan's going to stay on it. We're going to stay on it in person. This needs to be shared. Share this. People need to know. People need to see this. Go share Jordan's article all over social media. Go share what you're watching right now all over social media. If you are able to support us, please do so. Our reporting trip to West Virginia to expose these racist Dems, just because they have Democrat in their name certainly doesn't mean they're not racist. Because they have Democrats in their name doesn't mean they're not right-wing. We all know that fact about Joe Manchin. But this is what happens. This is what happens all over the place. For people who say racism is gone, racism is no longer a problem in this country, you're crazy. Of course it is. It's just, you won't see stuff like this on corporate media. So go to statusquo.live, which is where you can watch us live, but you can also support our upcoming reporting trip to West Virginia to report on these scumbags. Support us at any amount. The donation box is right there on the page. You can support us while we're live, but you can also do so at any time. Also, if you prefer GoFundMe, we do have a GoFundMe that goes towards in-field reporting costs, gofundme.com/statusquo. We also have a Cash App now where we're joining the 21st century. So it is $statusquo on Cash App. So absolutely any amount is helpful for sure. Robert, yes, your information about ATUN is very helpful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So yeah, please share that story. People need to know. People need to know what is happening. It's not its own case. It's not its own case. All right, Colin, let's go ahead and pull up while these folks on YouTube smash the like button, while the folks on Twitch follow us. And everyone shares everywhere. Pull up the CBS article about Ilhan Omar. Actually, I'm sorry, Colin. Go ahead and first play Ilhan Omar's video so people have some context. Before he does that, let me give you guys some context straight from me. So maybe you've heard about this, maybe you haven't. Ilhan Omar is due to Republicans and now due to Democrats in hot water. And that's all people are talking about on Fox News, on Newsmax, etc. And guess what? They're trying to paint her as anti-Semitic again. Yeah, they are. The worst kerfuffle before this, where stumbling all over my words, where she was smeared as an anti-Semite, was about 2 years ago. And this is shaping up to be an even bigger kerfuffle than that. She has stated unequivocally she is not anti-Semitic. And a lot of these attacks have to do with the fact that she is Muslim. That is my opinion, and I think the evidence supports that as well. I see we have a GoFundMe support coming in. Thank you. Keep it going. So Ilhan Omar was speaking and asked Secretary Blinken a question about the ICC and how it is treated, how the United States war crimes, Israel's Hamas, how these crimes are dealt with or handled in the ICC. Okay, so with that context in mind, go ahead, Colin, and play Ilhan's video to Secretary Blinken, please.
The court's investigation in both Palestine and in Afghanistan. I haven't seen any evidence in either cases that domestic courts both can and will prosecute alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. And I would emphasize that in Israel and Palestine, this includes crimes committed by both the Israeli security forces and Hamas. In Afghanistan, it includes crimes committed by the Afghan national government and the Taliban. So in both of these cases, if domestic courts can't or won't pursue justice, and we oppose the ICC, where do we think the victims of these supposed crimes can go for justice? In both of these cases, if domestic courts can't or won't pursue justice, and we oppose the ICC, where do we think victims are supposed to go for justice? And what justice mechanisms do you support for them?
Thank you. First, let me just say at the outset that it is impossible not to be profoundly moved by not just the loss of life in the recent violence and conflict, but especially the children whose lives were lost. And we all have a tendency to throw statistics and numbers out there, but we were talking about boys and girls, Israelis and Palestinians, as well as men and women. And I think none of us, from whatever perspective we come, can lose sight of that. So that's one thing that's very important. Look, you know our views on the ICC and its jurisdiction. We continue to believe that absent a Security Council referral or absent the request by the state itself, that's not appropriate. I continue to believe that whether it is the United States or Israel, both of us have the means.
Mr. Secretary, I do understand that point. I'm asking what mechanism you think is available to them.
I believe that we have, whether it's the United States or Israel, we both have the mechanisms to make sure that there is accountability in any situations where there are concerns about use of force and human rights etc. I believe that both of our democracies have that capacity, and we've demonstrated it, and we'll need to continue to demonstrate it going forward.
And in the case of Afghanistan?
With regard to Afghanistan, if it's our objection, as you know, was to the assertion of jurisdiction over the United States in the absence of a Security Council referral, and I believe that we have the means, if there are any cases to be brought, to adjudicate them and to find justice.
All right, sorry folks on the audio. Colin says that video is just low naturally and it can't be adjusted, but hopefully you could read it and kind of get the gist of what she's asking. So to me, it makes perfect sense. We all know that the United States commits war crimes. What did we do in 2001? We lied our way into war that we are still in, right? Is that not a war crime? Like just lying, let's overthrow some people we label as dictators because we don't like them. Let's laugh about it like crazy. Well, I won't call her names, like Hillary, like Secretary Clinton. Let's murder. Let's be like Madeleine Albright. Say it's worth it to murder all the children, right? Madeleine Albright. Yeah, she gets away with it. Henry Kissinger, lauded, loved, delighted. Folks love him. No, criminal, horrible. Now, the rehabilitation of George Bush. These are all war criminals. Neocons are all over the place. They're still all over the place. They're being rehabilitated. Many of them because they were anti-Trump. That doesn't make them good. We have short memories. We commit war crimes. The United States commits a hell of a lot of war crimes. Terrible, awful, bad war crimes. You ask a lot of these people in these countries that we bomb and destroy, and even our current president, Amtrak Joe, everybody's favorite uncle, is saying like, oh, mistake. This is a paraphrase. He said something like, oh, collateral damage happens. Remember when we bombed a wedding by accident? Like, no, that's not normal, okay? Obama with all of his drone strikes. Our country commits war crimes. Just because it's us doing it doesn't mean it's great and wonderful. People need to get that out of their minds. Republicans especially, conservatives especially, need to get that out of their minds. America isn't exceptional. America isn't perfect. The children we kill because they're brown, they don't mean less. We're awful. So that's what she's talking about. The ICC, which is supposed to, be an international crime court. Yeah, Israel, we can all agree, has committed war crimes, including last month. Right? Remember that time that nobody's talking about where they just decided to take out the building the AP and Al Jazeera were housed in, the Associated Press? They took out the building the Associated Press was in. Well, that's not, nobody, no Associated Press person died, etc. That's definitely not at the top of the list. I'm just saying America forgets. America has forgotten those 60 plus children who were murdered by Israel. America's forgotten. America's gone back to sleep. Israel commits war crimes. CNN's producer was in I guess it was by, I think this was by the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the Israeli guards or the IDF, I don't remember which faction it was, just started beating the producer for no reason, beating journalists. So CNN didn't report on it. CNN, your producer is getting beaten for no reason. Why aren't you reporting on it? There's so many war crimes committed by Israel. And then Ilhan, Congresswoman Omar, talks about Hamas. Yes, which people have a variety of opinions on. We can all agree that they commit war crimes. They're not angels by any sense of the word. What Ilhan is not doing is equating them. She's not saying that they're all equal. She's not saying that, any terrorist organization is the same as, XYZ. She's not saying these are all three the same thing. She's saying the ICC, these active cases, guys, cases. Yes, cases. She's asking about that. And so people have taken that. By people, I mean, obviously conservatives, obviously Fox News, but now the Democrats as well. So the Democrats waited a day, and they did it in a really shady way. But first, before we get into what the Dems did, including Madam Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Nancy, Ilhan responded with her own kind of announcement or a response to the initial uproar. So this response came out prior to the Democrats' response, I believe. Yeah, I believe it did. Either way, it doesn't matter. It came out today at some point. If you can pull up, Colin, the Rep. Ilhan Omar statement, please. Let's see here. Can't tell if it's up on the one. If you have the Wakelet, Colin, it's from her website. It's a photo, like a screenshot of her actual website. One second, my friends. While you're waiting, smash that like button, share this screen. Share this stream. And thank you so much, guys, for the incredible support that's coming in right now for the road trip. Keep it coming. GoFundMe.com/statuscoup or go to statuscoup.live. You can support us at any amount in a variety of ways. Also, $statuscoup. So this statement was posted on Representative Ilhan Omar's official website. Representative Ilhan Omar's statement on questions during the House Foreign Affairs Committee. On Monday, I asked Secretary of State Antony Blinken about ongoing international crime court investigations. To be clear, the conversation was about accountability for specific incidents regarding those ICC cases, not a moral comparison between Hamas and the Taliban and the US and Israel. I was in no way equating terrorist organizations with the democratic countries with well-established judicial systems. So again, guys, she's talking about accountability for specific incidents regarding ICC cases. What is the ICC for? It's to hold internationally countries accountable, right? That's what it's for. So why can't she ask about it? If there are cases, why can't she ask about those cases? Why is it anti-Semitic to ask about those cases? By the way, she didn't just ask about Israel. She asked about the United States. So those just defaulting to, oh, this is anti-Semitism, that doesn't even make sense. There's nothing wrong. Yes, as Cheryl says in the chat, nothing wrong with what she's doing. There's nothing wrong with asking about ICC cases. There's nothing wrong with admitting that there's something majorly wrong with our country, that there's something majorly wrong with what the state of Israel is doing to those who live in Gaza, for example. And it has to be pointed out that not having support for Zionism does not mean that you're anti-Semitic. It does not mean that. Zionism and Judaism are not the same thing. Zionism is a relatively recent creation that is weaponized, by the way. Zionism is weaponized by insane, I'm not calling all Christians insane, but I'm saying by insane factions of Christian denominations that literally want Jews to go to Israel so that they die, because they think these wacky Christian sects think that it's part of the prophecy that the Jews have to go in Israel so that they, meaning the wacky extremist Christians, can go to heaven. Well, how the hell isn't that anti-Semitic? Why are Zionist lobbies accepting money from those freaks? Why? Why is it Ilhan Omar who is getting all this, getting yelled at from every corner for talking about ICC cases, which are things that exist? She's not making this up. This exists. Why is she getting all of this crap for speaking truth? Why aren't we talking about the wackadoodle Christian organizations in DC who are pushing the Zionist lobby because of their wacky ideas? Although it's probably in DC, it's probably more about the Benjamins for those Christian Zionists than it is about their belief in the prophecy. But those under them, those who follow these people, those who follow these preachers who say, we support this blah 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 because it's part of the prophecy. That's insane. People need to know about this. Why are they not being called out? Why is Ilhan Omar being called out? It's because it's about money, and it's because she is Muslim. Ilhan Omar is Muslim, so that's why she's getting all of this crap. So, Colin, we're going to move on to the Mehdi Hasan tweet, which contains the Pelosi leadership team statement. It's absolutely crazy what these folks are doing. And Mehdi Hasan, love him or not, he makes a great point. He tweeted, "Does Pelosi have time?" And so he's speaking of this statement from leadership that was put out about Ilhan Omar, which I will read next. But Mehdi makes a great point, saying, "Does Pelosi have time to acknowledge GOP members of the House, like Paul Gosar, attending white nationalist conferences with Holocaust deniers? How about Lauren Boebert putting crosshairs on Omar by calling her an honorary member of Hamas? Does the speaker have anything to say?" Interesting. It's interesting, isn't it, what gets called out and what doesn't? And Colin, I'll go ahead and read the statement from Speaker Nancy and her cronies. The statement comes out of DC, of course, from Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, Majority Whip James Clyburn, Assistant Speaker Catherine Clark, Caucus Chairman Hakeem Jeffries, and Caucus Vice Chair Pete Aguilar, issuing this joint statement, which I'll get into the shadiness of even more, some of the behind-the-scenes shadiness. They say, legitimate criticism of the policies of both the United States and Israel is protected by the values of free speech and democratic debate. And indeed, such criticism is essential to the strength and health of our democracies. But drawing false equivalencies between democracies like the United States and Israel and groups that engage in terrorism like Hamas and the Taliban foments prejudice and undermines progress toward a future of peace and security for all. We welcome the clarification by Congresswoman Omar that there is no moral equivalency between the US and Israel and Hamas and the Taliban, which of course, my friends, is nothing at all like what Ilhan Omar actually said. This is not what Congresswoman Omar said at all. She's not equating so-called democracies like the United States and Israel and the Taliban, for God's sake. She's not equating them with Hamas. That's not what she's doing. She was bringing up cases in the ICC. Cases. So if you believe that there are instances where countries or organizations should be held accountable, saying that they should all be held accountable for their actions does not mean you are equating their actions. And we can all disagree on how equal these actions are and aren't. I'm sure some of you think, oh, how could you say bad things about the United States? Probably not you guys, but some people out there. And how could you, do X, Y, Z? And oh my goodness, how could you even put, Hamas in the same category? But that's not what's happening. What's happening is there are war crimes for all of the above, right? So it's about the accountability. It's about the ICC in these cases. What they are doing is exactly what they mean to do. What they mean to do is spin this and smear Ilhan Omar. That's exactly what they want to happen, because the lobbies won't let them have it otherwise. That's what's happening here. And in case you thought, oh, maybe they're saying this in good faith, maybe. Colin, can you go ahead and pull up that New York Times quote that starts, "A House Democratic aide"? Yeah, if you're thinking this was done in good faith, that these leaders actually care, the answer is no. Because Representative Omar did reach out to these people. By these people, I mean Nancy Pelosi and her cronies. A House Democratic, this is out of the New York Times, a House Democratic aide familiar with the back and forth said Ms. Omar's anger stemmed from her treatment by the dozen colleagues who publicly upbraided her. She had heard that they were going to publicly call for a clarification of her remarks and reached out to some of them several times on Wednesday. They did not respond before their public chastisement, said the aide, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe private discussions. So if anyone is making the argument that Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries are acting in good faith here, that gets flown right out the window. Of course they aren't. She reached out. They didn't answer her. They didn't respond to her. If they really cared, if they really wanted clarification, why didn't they respond? Why are they lying about what she said? People aren't going to actually go watch that clip of what she actually said. They know people don't have an understanding of the ICC. They know this. They know they can spin this in any way they want to because their pocketbooks and their bank accounts depend on the spin. They don't care about throwing Ilhan Omar under the bus, especially because she's Muslim. Nancy Pelosi can pretend she's a progressive all she wants, but we all know she's not. And the fact that they're willing to do this repeatedly to Ilhan Omar is disgusting. And it's not just a matter of hurting Ilhan Omar's feelings. This is dangerous. The lies that they are putting out there, the lies that are coming out on Fox News and the like, they're dangerous. I'm going to have Colin play a clip next that I went back and forth on playing. And please know that the N-word is used. I went back and forth on playing it because of that, because it is a white person on that clip using that disgusting, horrible word. And obviously very racist, and the whole message is scary and awful. But I decided the fact that Ilhan Omar so strongly believed in the importance of posting this on her Twitter account, that I feel like she wants this message to get out, that this is happening, that this is not a game, these lies. So Colin, if you can, please play the Ilhan Omar tweet video that starts with trigger warning. Every time I speak out on human rights, I am inundated with death threats. Here is one we just got. Muslims are terrorists, and she is a raghead bleep. And every anti-American communist piece of shit that works for her, I hope you get what's coming for you. So, Colin, go ahead and play the clip.
Cultural heritage. They destroy cultural heritage. They destroy history, just like Miss Ilhan Omar, because Muslims are terrorists, and she is a raghead nigger, and every anti-American communist piece of shit that works for her, I hope you fucking get what's coming for you.
And that is just one of many. That's one of many. She's a mother, you know, she's taken this job in Washington, and whatever you think of her, I happen to think that she is a good person. I have interviewed her, and there's something about, you might think this is silly, but there's something about her spirit that you can just kind of feel and sense. She's good. She's a mother, and she's taking this job to, in her view, make America a better place, to put through policies that make it more equitable for everyone. And in doing this and calling out actual cases at the ICC and mentioning the United States and mentioning Israel, and also, of course, mentioning Hamas and Hamas war crimes, she's getting death threats, and she gets them all the time. But now, because the Democrats are spinning this with this formal call out, this awful formal call out that's filled with spin, along with Fox News running with this all the time, you think they're going to stop? Fox News is going to keep going with this days and days and days from now. This is dangerous. Dangerous, disturbing, and horrible. We all know that we can't trust Nancy Pelosi and the leaders of the Democratic Party to do the right thing, but you would think that they would at least try to not lie about one of their own, try to not be, you know, anti-Muslim. How about that? How about that, right? That would be good. So I think it's important to pay attention to what happens next. I don't know what will happen next. Obviously, the Democratic Party is going to maybe not make any more statements. I don't know if there will be back and forth. Of course, Ilhan Omar has supporters like Rashida Tlaib and others. But yeah, I don't know. We'll stay on this story and let you know what happens next. But I think it would be interesting for you folks as well to maybe take a look at her account and really think about what you see said about what Representative Omar said and how this gets spun. I want to thank Alan Paulson. Thank you so much for the incredible GoFundMe donation. Anonymous, thank you so much for the incredible GoFundMe donation. And you can support us in our upcoming road trip, which I'm so excited about. We're going to several states, which will include Pennsylvania, West Virginia, likely Ohio. Hopefully we'll be able to swing by and do some Nina Turner stuff. And also Kentucky. So we have some very exciting news coming up as far as that's concerned, including some Breonna Taylor updates and interviews. So this trip is very important. It's also going to cost us a lot, but we believe so strongly in going on this trip because the eviction moratorium is ending. So along with these other important stories, such as Breonna Taylor, such as Joe Manchin, such as the racism of the West Virginia Democratic Party, the eviction moratorium is ending. People are struggling. We already had a huge, income gap, class divide, systemic racism leading to poverty in this country, and then COVID, and then jobs gone. Joe Biden might speak a good game, but the jobs report is BS. And so folks don't have a way to pay their bills. Folks are about to lose the only protection they have against losing their homes. And so we've decided that we are going on this reporting road trip. And I think, mark it on your calendar. We're going to be there Monday. We have an interview lined up. We're setting up more interviews. If you know of anyone in those states who is facing an eviction issue or a houselessness issue, we're also going to interview gig workers, those who are making a few dollars an hour running Ubers and running, Grubhub and things like that, and how they're struggling in this. Also, those going to school and working full time and are still houseless. So you can bet that this road trip is going to be critical and important. And if you are able to support us at any amount, you can do so at Cash App, $status coup, or you can go to statuscoup.live, which is where you can watch us live, but also you can support us there in a variety of ways. There's a big old donation box there. So any amount helps. And also our GoFundMe. So we really appreciate any and all support, large or small, doesn't matter to us. We understand times are tough for people, which is why we're going on this tour in the first place. If you do happen to have some funding available and find yourself, moved to support us at a large amount, that would be incredibly generous and helpful. We really believe in giving the microphone back to the people and getting people's stories out. Timid Giant Art Peter, $10 in the super chat. Insert cool comment here. Thank you for your excellent reporting. Thank you, Timid Giant Art Peter. I really appreciate you. You guys are amazing. You're the very, very best viewers in the world. Keep sharing this stream. We're going to keep going. There's so much to talk about today. I want to do, so this, I'm trying to decide which I want to do first. All right, we'll do this one. I was going to skip old Joe, but I guess I got to talk about it. All right, so President Biden, I called him old Joe. I guess that's not very respectful, right? That's okay. So Joe Biden is abroad right now for G7. And in the midst of being abroad for G7, which we'll cover about what they're going to do there, he's also going to have tea with the Queen and do all sorts of fancy things. But I wanted to point out the kind of hypocrisy of some of this and just this silliness. So, Colin, I don't know if you have this, but either way, I'll read Joe Biden's schedule. So this is Joe Biden's first overseas trip as president. So today he met with Prime Minister Boris Johnson in the UK. From June 11th through 13th, this is the G7. So we know we'll have news coming out, daily on that. And then June 13th, he and Lady Jill will meet with Queen Elizabeth at Windsor Castle. Then he, on June 14th, has the NATO summit. Then June 15th, the US-EU summit. And then June 16th, he'll be meeting with Putin, which is very, very interesting to me. We'll see what happens there. I'm sure it'll be covered in the exact same way that it was covered with Trump, right? Like a meeting with Putin will be covered simply the same. So the announcement from the Queen about their meeting, the Queen will meet the President of the United States of America and First Lady Jill Biden at Windsor Castle on Sunday, 13th June 2021. Her Majesty will welcome the President and the First Lady at the dais in the quadrangle of Windsor Castle. Upon the President and the First Lady's arrival, a guard of honor formed of the Queen's Company 1st Battalion Grenadier Guards will give a royal salute and the U.S. national anthem will be played. The President will then accompany the officer commanding the Guard of Honor, Major James Taylor, and Major General Christopher Giga, to inspect the Guard of Honor, which that sounds like a weird thing to do, but whatever floats your boat, before returning to the dais to watch the military march past alongside the Queen and the First Lady. The President and the First Lady will then join Her Majesty for tea in the castle. And before, I hope I put this in here. I thought I did. Colin, if I put that silly hill piece in here with Jill Biden's coat, pull that up. If I didn't, no worries. I think I missed it. So you guys all remember when Melania Trump wore that I don't care, do you jacket. I just wanted to quickly point out that the media is not reporting anything serious about this trip at all. Like trying to find serious reporting about this trip abroad is like a needle in a haystack. All people are reporting about, this is an exaggeration, but all anyone's talking about in the media is that Jill Biden wore a coat that says love on the back. As if this is saving America, that instead of Melania wearing her her coat that says, "I don't care, do you?" Which, yeah, I think that was awful. I think she was like being awful. But the fact that Jill by Dr. Jill wore a coat saying "love" on it, they're acting like she's the second coming of Christ. Like, so many articles about this, it's absurd. So I just wanted to quickly point that out. It's just nutso, in my opinion. But what are you going to do? This is a media that focuses on Kamala Harris's sneakers. So before I get into the important stuff, which is the G7 summit, I want to point out, and if Colin, if you can pull up the Fast Company, the anti-monarchy movement piece, please. I want to point out some of the hypocrisy of the hubbub around the royal family and this in general. Like, there are a lot of reasons to not care about the royal family. I understand people that do. I think it's, it's like a celebrity thing. They're interesting. There's a lot of history there. I don't blame anyone for being interested in it, but as far as like worshiping these people, no, I think that's wacky. Hopefully I don't offend any Brits out there. I did grow up, one of my stepmothers was British, so I don't know. I enjoy the Yorkshire pudding. That's all I can say. So the anti-monarchy movement is having a moment right now. You know why. Anti-monarchists say the unsavory details revealed in a sit-down interview on Sunday, obviously talking about Harry and Meghan. So this is just a really quick read and rundown of why not everyone is in love with the royal family. The Republicans are cheering about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's interview with Oprah Winfrey last night. Not those Republicans, lowercase r. British citizens who oppose the monarchy are having a moment after the Duke and Duchess of Sussex used the sit-down to throw shade on the royal family. The couple's comments ranged from accusations of racism and bullying to a general lack of support, which I think that is important and not light and not something to skip over. The accusations of racism, that is deeply rooted in the royal family. Absolutely. Some think it's time for the 1,000-plus-year-old monarchy to go. The hashtag abolish the monarchy was trending on Twitter on Monday, which of course this article is not current, which upset some supporters such as Piers Morgan. Oh, poor Piers. Who then was trashed with the Twitter account for the British anti-monarchist group Republic, wrote back, "Don't whatever you do retweet this and keep that trend going." The interview dominated social media chatter, on and on, with everything from jokes about what Ireland is thinking to references to Princess Diana's bombshell 1995 BBC interview with allusions to colonialism. And that is something to pay attention to as well, the history of colonialism and the current realities. Among the traditional arguments against keeping the House of Windsor in place are the expense, the undemocratic power the family wields, and the backwardsness of the institution itself. So they want to replace these anti-monarchists with an elected head of state, which, overall, this movement is not super popular in Britain. They love their royals, which is fine. But let's get to something more serious and more important, and something that certainly President Joe Biden, Dr. Jill are not going to ask about. They're not going to talk about this. None of the reporters are going to talk about this. Wouldn't you think that the perfect time to ask Prince Andrew questions, and yes, that's where I'm going with this, Epstein and Prince Andrew, wouldn't you think that the perfect time to ask questions about this is right now? Talk about a news hook, right? So, Colin, if you can pull up the news.com.au article titled "Prince Andrew Quietly Removed from 50 Patronages Following Jeffrey Epstein Scandal." How many of you heard about this story? Anyone? I follow this and I didn't hear about this until I looked it up today. The move by many organizations comes after the royal became mired in controversy over his friendship with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. It's a little more than a friendship. This came out May 17th, so a little less than a month ago. The Duke of York has been quietly or publicly removed from the top role by dozens of different bodies, it was reported. The Telegraph states some felt it was no longer appropriate to continue their public associations with him. Others are said to have expressed a desire to find someone better suited to their aims and values. A spokesperson for the Duke of York declined to comment on the report. The royal stepped back from public duties after becoming mired in controversy 18 months ago. It was a little bit longer than 18 months ago. We've all known about Prince Andrew's association for many years. Side note from me, over his friendship with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew was accused by one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Giuffre, of having sex with her twice when she was 17. He has strongly denied all accusations and has kept a low profile since being forced out of the spotlight. Following his car crash BBC Newsnight interview, many of his charities found themselves in a difficult position, reports the Telegraph. And several are said to have decided to end their links with the prince almost immediately. Those reportedly included the Royal National Institute for the Deaf, the Gulf Foundation, the Children's Foundation, and the Outward Bound Trust. The Royal Navy and Royal Marines Children's Fund was reported as saying, "We felt that as a children's charity, it was not appropriate for him to remain patron." Ah, there you go. I wonder if the Royal Navy and Royal Marines Children's Fund will see any repercussions for that statement. The Berkshire County Cricket Club, the Society for Nautical Research, and Whitgift School in Croydon also apparently cut their ties. Many chose not to comment, while others reportedly said, although they felt they should part ways with the Duke, they felt unable to do so as he has not been charged or convicted of a crime. Andrew has faced calls to speak with U.S. prosecutors and the FBI, which intensified after his friend Ghislaine Maxwell was charged with allegedly recruiting girls for Epstein to sexually abuse. Miss Giuffre, who says she was trafficked by Epstein as a teenager, said in an interview with BBC Panorama that she was left horrified and ashamed after an alleged sexual encounter with the Duke in 2001. Andrew categorically denies he had any form of sexual contact or relationship with Miss Giuffre. And here is a photo that you can judge for yourself about their relationship, or whether, not relationship, excuse me, about whether he had that contact or not. Your opinion there is totally up to you. So all that is to say that this pretending that everything is fine and fancy with the royal family, that there's nothing going on, no problems, everything's fine. Oh, it's the Queen, long live the Queen, right? Yeah, of course there are problems. This is the UK. There are a lot of reasons to not love this, but the fact that none of these traveling reporters who are going to be talking about the royal family and in the mix with the royal family and in the mix with those who know the royal family, none of them are going to ask about this. If they do, I'll eat my words. Thankfully, like, I would love that. That'd be great. Go for it, guys. Do it. Do it at that tea. Love that. That'd be great. But it probably won't happen. Now's the time. Now's the time to do it. Let's find out the truth. If the truth is that nothing happened, then nothing happened. Why only talk to the FBI? The Queen isn't responsible for Prince Andrew, but she's certainly responsible for covering up this if it did indeed happen. Right now it is alleged. So thank you, Timid Giant Art Peter, another 5 buckaroonies in the super chat. Just a quick reminder that companies calling out the systemic issues isn't woke, but it is in fact breaking the fourth wall. I think that is a great point. That is a really great point for sure. So I'm going to actually skip over. I was going to talk more about the G7 summit, but you guys all know they're going to talk about climate, trade, pandemic recovery, Russia and China. So when there's actually something to report on that, I'll report on it. But for now, it's just plans. So that is, in fact, what's going to happen. So we'll see. But for now, this just might be the only place you hear anything about Prince Andrew for a while. It was quite difficult to find anything current and updated on Prince Andrew. Thank you so much, Prismastatic, for the $5 super sticker. Love, love, love the support. It's absolutely amazing. So helpful, especially with this upcoming in-field reporting trip. You guys are simply the best, simply the best. Next, I would like to pull up, Colin, if you can, the Flint story, which I am looking for myself. I don't know if I did something to it. There it is. The MLive Flint story. I talked about this a bit at the top of the show, and Jordan and I are working on a really important investigative story, yet another one. We released one a few months ago in The Intercept, but we have another one coming up. We don't know the exact date, but hopefully any day now. We've been waiting quite a while. It has to get through legal checks and this and that. So we'll let you know ASAP. But in the meantime, there are a lot of things happening in Flint that don't go reported. There's a lot of racism. This is a majority poor, majority Black city. The racism is astounding, and not just related to the water crisis, but daily life, everything. We spoke about the fact that we're going to do some additional reporting on Breonna Taylor while we're there on our reporting trip. We're going back to Louisville, which we did last summer. Remember that no-knock warrant that ended in police murdering Breonna Taylor? Well, here's another story about a no-knock warrant that's getting basically no attention. So this story comes out of MLive, which is a local, Michigan paper or Michigan outlet. Flint family calls for Justice Department investigation after MSP house raid, Michigan State Police. A Flint family is calling for action after they say their home was wrongly raided by police in April. The raid of the home on Garland Street on Flint's north side was conducted around 10:45 p.m. April 21st and included 40 to 50 officers, said attorney Bill Goodman during a Tuesday, June 8th press conference at Joy Tabernacle Church. Goodman said the raid lasted almost an hour and involved the Michigan Police SWAT team and the Flint Major Crimes Task Force. This is serious stuff, scary stuff. The family later found out a confidential informant gave false information that led police to enter the home searching for a homicide suspect, he said. Renee Dunnigan, 56, and her daughter, Michelle Colston, 28, have lived at the home for the past 10 years. The mother and grandmother are raising Colston's children ages 3, 10, and 14. Think about this. There were 40 to 50 officers, the Michigan State Police SWAT team, and the Flint Major Crimes Task Force coming in at almost 11 p.m. with these 3 children there, who this family has lived there for 10 years. How was this mistake made? This is absurd. Are they not able to look up where people live? Do they not have a computer at the police force? The door was kicked in and we were told to put our hands up, so we held our hands up, Dunnigan said. She said she tried to ask police what was happening, but didn't get answers. Their phones were taken and the family, surrounded by armed police, was told to sit on the living room couch, Dunnigan said. Dunnigan's 4-year-old grandson used to want to be a police officer, and now he has been traumatized. That reminds me of when Jordan was interviewing Bianca Austin, Breonna Taylor's aunt, last summer. We heard a similar story that her son used to want to be a police officer, but now that the police murdered his family member, he's terrified. This is something we have to live with every day. And for us to have to be strong for them, we can't be strong all the time. She said she was told by police that a car in the driveway they shared with a neighbor led to the raid of their home, noting that police should have just asked about the car because they didn't know who it belonged to. Attorneys representing the family sent a letter to the U.S. Department of Justice on Tuesday, June 7th, calling for the department to investigate police practices in the city. The family is also calling for the Michigan legislature to ban no-knock warrants. Yeah, I don't understand how this mistake is made. You go talk to the people, or for something like this with the 40 to 50 officers, you surveil them for a while. You don't just go in and traumatize a family. Michigan State Police confirmed in a statement that police executed a search warrant at the home. However, the family says there was no knock before police gained entrance. The search warrant was, in part, based on information provided by a confidential informant who officers found knowingly provided false information to investigators. The MSP has apologized to the family. Oh, great. Thanks, MSP. Thank you. That's so nice of you, you absolute psychopaths. And immediately began to work with both the landlord and the renters to remedy the situation, which, to remedy the trauma that you put on those children, which included paying for repairs to the front door, which was damaged during entry. Wow, what nice folks. This is absurd. Additionally, members of the MSP have met with the family and their attorneys to discuss what occurred and to answer their questions. Many of the other allegations being made are not accurate, nor are they reflective of the policies and procedures of the MSP. Yeah, the MSP, let's just say they have a habit of lying, so be a little skeptical of what they say. Aaron Dunnigan, Renee's son, said he raced to his family's house when he heard there was a heavy police presence. He said he couldn't get answers and didn't know if his family was dead or alive. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that terror? I don't want to live in a world without police, but I wouldn't want to live in a world where police can just come in your house and do what they want, when they want, without any consequences or repercussions, Aaron Dunnigan said. So we are calling for an investigation into policies and how they conduct business in the communities that look like we do. 50 officers, and I only saw one black officer out of the bunch, all in plain clothes with the exception of the SWAT team. No one who looks like my family policing my family. There's something not right with that picture. Aaron Dunnigan said he wants to see justice and reform come out of the situation. And of course, Mayor Sheldon Neely issued a response. So I don't know what to say except, why isn't this all over the news? Why is this allowed to keep happening? Why are these police so psychotic? What happened here? You know, that there's such a breakdown. The 40 to 50 police, the SWAT team, based on a liar's tip, that doesn't normally happen. That's not normal. Something else happened here. I bet you it would not have happened in one of the wealthier towns close to Flint. I'm so disgusted. And this is not the only story like this. I say this all the time. We pick these stories out of these towns and cities, and I have to always emphasize this is not the only story like this. Racism is constant. Racism is everywhere. Racism is systemic. What are we going to do about it? Well, pressure. Put the pressure on. That's what we need to do. We need to hit them in the pocketbooks, put the pressure on. As far as this family, getting the word out. Getting the word out. Mrs. Carter says, I'm from Michigan and this is a normal practice. Yep. And imagine how many times this doesn't make the news, how many times it's covered up, how many times MSP lies, how many times your local police lie, how many times all police forces lie to try to get away with it. The only way that they don't get away with it is public pressure. Why do you think that Derek Chauvin got convicted on all 3 counts? It wouldn't have happened without public pressure. It wouldn't have happened without Black Lives Matter, without Black-led protests. Disgusting story. We will stay on it and continue reporting on stories like this. I want to do a quick piece, and then I want to show you a very important interview that Jordan did with a descendant of a survivor of the Tulsa massacre, it's a very powerful interview, a very important interview. But first, I also want to point out that there's a lot of power in this world that goes unchecked. Yeah, John Wire, I do see that YouTube is not allowing you to leave a super chat. I don't know. I can't do anything. I'm sorry. Maybe try refreshing. But thank you. I appreciate it. There's a lot of power in this world when it comes to politicians, when it comes to those who have a lot of money, when it comes to celebrity as well. And so, Colin, if you can pull up the Vanity Fair Armie Hammer piece, you guys might say, oh, why is Jen covering Armie Hammer? Why is Jen covering a celebrity? Well, it's not because I care about Armie Hammer or anyone really. He's been in so many films and stuff. He's certainly not a mega superstar, but he's part of an extraordinarily wealthy family, and he's part of the Hollywood elite. And so one thing that I've stayed on for a while, ever since these allegations came out, is the precursor to this story. So for a long time, there have been allegations about Armie Hammer having mistreated women. And unfortunately, the way that media often reported this, when they did in fact bother to report it, was, oh, Armie Hammer is just into kink. Armie Hammer is into bondage. Why are people saying that that's abusive? Why are people trying to kink shame? And that, I think, was on purpose. That was a PR game that folks were playing. When the reality is, there are several women who have come out against Armie Hammer and said that he has sexually assaulted them, sexually abused them. And so these allegations have to be, I believe, taken seriously. And I don't understand the outlets that don't cover it. I will never understand that because of money or because of people are powerful or whatever, that journalists choose to not cover things. I don't understand that mindset. If something is wrong, you report it, you cover it. I don't care if you're Armie Hammer. I don't care if you have a rich family that, entrenched in all this power even before Armie Hammer was so-called famous. I don't care. But the latest game that Armie Hammer is playing is, oh, poor Armie, he's in rehab now. He's having mental health crises. Poor Armie. This is all meant to distract from the fact that there are serious and credible allegations from several women, some of which have kind of gone back underground. I've been really paying attention to this because of threats from seemingly those associated with fans of Armie Hammer, fans of Call Me By Your Name, those who ship those two main characters. I've never seen that movie, whatever, but they've been very smeared and very scared. And it's been a really traumatic thing. So here's the latest on Armie Hammer, which this has some background as well. Out of Vanity Fair, came out on the 8th, Armie Hammer has checked into a treatment program. He has so much trauma that he cannot deal with the stillness, face himself, or sit alone with his shit. And by the way, this headline should say, Army Hammer is checked into a treatment program following credible allegations of rape and assault. That's what it should say. But because this is Vanity Fair, because this is Army Hammer, because not only of his Hollywood celebrity, but because of his family power and wealth, this is what we have. Early on the morning of Saturday, May 29th, Army Hammer arrived at the Grand Cayman Airport, which his family spends a lot of time at Caymans, to leave the island for the first time since the March 18th press conference, in which a woman named Effie accused the actor of rape. The actor, who was denied any wrongdoing through his lawyer, was departing the Caymans to check into an inpatient facility for drug, alcohol, and sex issues, according to 3 sources. Hammer's arrival at the airport was first reported on social media by a witness who said that the actor walked in with his estranged wife, Elizabeth Chambers, and their 2 young children. A source close to Hammer confirmed that the actor reached out to Chambers in late May, asking for help and telling her that he was ready to seek treatment, and pledging to stay at the Florida facility outside of Orlando as long as it takes to get healthy. Everyone looks at Army thinking he's had some sort of privileged life, which he has, and that must mean there were no problems in his youth and everything was peachy keen, said a close friend of the actor. But that's not necessarily the way things go. Just because you come from an upbringing where financial resources are plentiful doesn't mean life isn't without problems. Okay, cry me a river. That doesn't mean you allegedly rape several women. Neither Hammer's lawyers nor Chambers responded to Vanity Fair's request for comment on this story. The close friend of Hammer's added, "This is a clear sign that he is taking back control of his life and knows that this is a step towards his overall well-being." I don't care about his overall well-being. Why is this an article? You might say, well, why are you covering something you don't think should be an article? I'm covering it to point out that this is what the media does. I'm covering this to highlight that the story should actually be the women and how this is being used to distract from the credible allegations. This January, several women took to social media to accuse the actor of emotional abuse, manipulation, and sexual violence. The scandal ballooned as screen grabs circulated that seemed to show the actor describing sexual fantasies involving rape and cannibalism. And see, they're saying here, sexual fantasies. That's not all it was. It wasn't just kink. It wasn't just fantasies. This article is not pointing to what these women are saying happened. They're trying to whitewash what these women are saying. They're not saying that, oh, it was some kink, it was some bondage, and I ended up not liking it. They're not saying that. That's not what they're saying. But that's what this article is telling you to think. To protect Army Hammer, to make you feel sorry for poor Army Hammer who's now in treatment. I don't care, I don't care, honestly, what has happened to you in your life. You don't do this to people, allegedly. I don't talk about this on air, especially. Few people know about my life growing up. I had a really, really shitty life growing up. A lot of abuse, sexual abuse, a lot of horrible things. It was like a tale of 2 lives where my mother's side, like there's a lot of drugs, there was a lot of abuse, not from her. She had her issues. She's been homeless most of her life. And a lot of struggles. All that is not to say poor Jen. Like, yeah, I have complex PTSD. I suffer from that. But I don't go out and harm other people. I don't take my issues out on others. I don't use that as an excuse to harm other people. That's what Army Hammer and his friends are doing right now. That's what Vanity Fair is allowing to happen right now. Oh, poor Army Hammer. Poor little rich boy. He had a sad upbringing. And now this stuff is getting out. He's sad and it's hard. I don't care. I don't care what happened to you. You don't do it to other people. let's see here. Then it goes on to talk about the fact that Armie Hammer stepped away from projects, including one with Jennifer Lopez, remaking of The Godfather. His agency, WME, dropped him, which is major, by the way. If these allegations were not credible, his agent, this wouldn't have happened. His agency wouldn't be dropping him, etc. I'm just saying, these are allegations. I am speculating that this wouldn't have happened. Let me be clear. Just speculating. The only public statement the actor has made referencing the allegations came in January when he explained why he was stepping away from the J-Lo film. I'm not responding to these bullshit claims, but in light of the vicious and spurious online attacks against me, I cannot in good conscience now leave my children for 4 months to shoot a film in the Dominican Republic. So, of course, he's being a privileged jerk who won't, even think about anything, any of these allegations. On March 18th, a woman named Effie held a Zoom press conference alongside her lawyer, Gloria Allred, to accuse the actor of violently raping her in an alleged assault she says took place in 2017 and lasted over 4 hours. He repeatedly slammed my head against a wall, bruising my face, Effie said through tears. He also committed other acts of violence against me to which I did not consent. For example, he beat my feet with a crop so they would hurt with every step I took for the next week. During those 4 hours, I tried to get away, but he wouldn't let me. I thought that he was going to kill me. So why is no one talking about this? Effie's not the only one. Paige Lawrence as well. Others who've gone underground, who I won't say their names. I do know their names, but if they've chosen to no longer come forward, then I won't repeat them. Hammer's lawyer responded to this saying that so Gloria Allred did not say Effie's last name, but basically Armie Hammer and his lawyer doxed Effie. Effie has gone through great lengths to hide her last name, like to hide her full identity. Her full name is not Effie, that's a nickname. And these assholes put it out there. Saying Effie's own correspondence with Mr. Hammer undermines and refutes her outrageous allegations. As recently as July 18th, 2020, she sent graphic text to Mr. Hammer, telling him what she wanted to do to her. Mr. Hammer responded, making it clear that he did not want to maintain that type of relationship with her. The screenshot is just one of hundreds she sent to Mr. Hammer. I don't care what she sent. I don't care. That's a thing that people don't realize about abusive relationships, is that often women try to go back, or whoever is being abused tries to go back or hold on to what it was, because I don't want to speak for Effie, but sometimes women feel like it's all they deserve. Sometimes women feel like they caused it. Sometimes women try to talk them out of the idea that they were raped or assaulted and try to make it okay. And Effie had quite a long relationship with Armie Hammer. So I assume, again, I'm not speaking for her, wanted in some way to hold on to that. That doesn't mean she wasn't raped and assaulted. And that's not even all of what Effie has said and come out with, by any means. Allred called on Hammer to work with authorities on any potential investigations rather than let his lawyer speak for him. I feel immense guilt for not speaking out sooner because I feel like I may have been able to help others not become victims, said Effie. I want other survivors of sexual assault around the world to feel empowered and know that they are heard, believed, understood, supported, and loved. Afterward, the LAPD confirmed that it was investigating Hammer. On Tuesday, LAPD officer Norma Eisenman told Vanity Fair that detectives are not commenting on the case. So Armie Hammer's mother, Armie Hammer's mother wrote into Vanity Fair, "This family is so privileged, it's absurd." I'm not going to read this whole thing, but if you want to read this wacky letter, go for it. She starts by saying she forgives Vanity Fair for a previous article. Multiple people speaking to Vanity Fair over the past 4 months have alluded to unresolved trauma in Armie Hammer's own past, as well as ongoing substance abuse. I don't care. Get help, Armie. Don't take it out on others, allegedly. Effie released the following statement after the story was published. While I am glad that Armie is finally getting the help I begged him to get for so long, this does not take away all of the immense pain and suffering he has caused me. So definitely, I encourage you to keep up on that story. Don't let people forget or put aside that this is still happening. You know, the Me Too movement or whatever did some bad. I think, you know, I have a lot of comments on that, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean it didn't do good. But now here we are still in a space where an article that should be about the allegations against Armie Hammer and how he's shifting the blame is turned into a poor Armie Hammer article. So I'll stay on that story. David Williams, thank you so much for the $20 super sticker. I love the super stickers. Really, really helpful. Folks are commenting on this for sure. Yeah, so there are some subreddits that are dedicated to following this case. I journalistically cannot recommend this because people can say whatever they want, but Armie Hammer receipts is one subreddit. Take things with a grain of salt, but you can find constant updates there as well. House of Effie has been, I haven't looked in a while, has been Effie's Instagram and Twitter. Also Paige Lorenz. So yeah, check that out for sure. It's really sad. It's really devastating. So I don't know. It makes me disgusted that journalists and people will ignore things because it's someone powerful and because it's someone rich. I can't abide that at all. If something's wrong, I'm going to report it. I don't care how rich or powerful you are. That's the end. That's what status quo is. So I want to remind you folks that Jordan and I are going on a road trip, or one of our famous road trips. You can go to statusquo.live to support this road trip. You can go to gofundme.com/statusquo. You can support us via Cash App because we're now in the 21st century here at Status Quo. Cash App $Status Quo. And you can also join Status Quo as a member and get extra perks such as the member calls that we're going to have on the road. So we postponed one yesterday. Statusquo.com/join to get in on that. Jason says, what if something is right? Will you report it? Sure. I love good news. Let me know if you find any. We reported yesterday on the Keystone XL good news, but we still have line 3 to talk about. So anyway, I want to show you guys the Discord is fun. Firsty in Twitch is reminding me that members get access to the members only Discord. Statusquo.com/join. Talk. Jordan and I are in there more and more these days, and we have so many different topics. It's a great time. So Jordan did a great interview with the grandson of a Tulsa massacre survivor. And as you guys know, hopefully you saw my reporting on, and Tina was with me as well, on the Tulsa massacre on the 100th anniversary. And we wanted to interview this grandson of a descendant of a survivor, Bobby Eaton. So Colin's going to play a few minutes or maybe about 5 minutes of this clip. And I encourage you to watch and share it. Just because the anniversary has passed us by doesn't mean that people should forget about what happened in Tulsa and forget about what happened in many places. The move bombing. I mean, think about how many times that this has happened to Black people, to Black communities at the hands of our country and by white people in this country. So, Colin, go ahead and play maybe 5 or 6 minutes of this.
Hey, it's Jordan. I'm delighted to be joined by Bobby Eaton Jr., who is a longtime born and bred Tulsa, Oklahoma native. And I wanted to have you on. Obviously, there was a lot of attention on the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa massacre. But I think a lot of times when there's an anniversary or something like that, all the media focuses on it, before it, on the day. But then, the remaining issues kind of get lost. So I wanted to speak with you after all of that because I think you have an interesting story, kind of a, unofficial historian of the Tulsa massacre and the destruction of Black Wall Street. So I wanted to ask you, in the aftermath of the 100-year anniversary, obviously Black Wall Street has never fully been rebuilt. The Black businesses that were destroyed, the owners, families that have never been made whole. Do you see any signs from Washington that they will be trying to make those families whole again?
Well, Jordan, thank you for having me on your platform. I just believe that talk is small, it's cheap, until you start actually doing it and you can actually see it physically, because we're a traumatized city here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And as we go through everything, we just feel like it's a lot of talk. I feel like it's a lot of talk. I've got to see it. Some justice was done to us. It was a horrific act, and we still suffer from that trauma right today.
Mm-hmm. And I should have said your grandfather was a survivor of the Tulsa massacre, which you didn't even know that until later on. You didn't know that as a child.
Well, as a child growing up, we didn't hear anything about the massacre. I mean, we didn't discover the massacre till we were adults because it wasn't talked about. And, and the reason it wasn't talked about is because our elders didn't want it to reoccur and happen again. So they didn't talk about it. Even in my grandfather's barbershop, if they were in there talking about that massacre and you were a stranger and you came into that barbershop, they just cut it off, cut that conversation off.
Wow. And, what's really telling to me, during the general election, there was some, Black celebrities, Black leaders like P. Diddy and some others who made some comments that, Joe Biden is going to have to actually deliver something for us tangible and we're not going to just automatically provide our vote. Obviously, Joe Biden was elected based on a significant increase in turnout among Black voters, particularly in Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin. Obviously, he's had a pandemic to deal with, but it does seem like from him and the Democratic Party, obviously we know where Republicans stand, there's been a lot of talk about restoring the soul of the nation, police reform, civil rights, but not a lot of action. And I wanted to ask you, obviously, the Democratic Party commemorated the Tulsa massacre, but what has been the outreach from the federal government, the Biden administration to Tulsa?
There is no outreach. It's all talk. When I start physically seeing them give reparations and start coming into the community, rebuilding the community, that's when I'll believe it. But until then, it's just a bunch of talk and a bunch of hoopla and celebrities and people coming here for the centennial. and it's not realistic right now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I have to feel it. I have to see it and touch it, you know, and I mean, because a pair of lips can say anything.
Right. And could you kind of paint a picture for the audience? You know, obviously this was one of the wealthiest Black areas in the country back in the early 20th century. But what is it now?
Well, Black Wall Street is a little small community of buildings that are down there. The majority of the economic wealth for Black Wall Street was destroyed and turned down. They went back down there and rebuilt Black Wall Street. You know, the best that they could do during a time when, you know, blacks just didn't give up. And it extended itself all the way from Greenwood and Archer all the way down to Pine Street. Now, if you come here, you'll see a freeway that's been put through Black Wall Street, you know, with a bunch of traffic, and then you'll see OSU Tulsa, which bought up a whole lot of the property down there, and they put up a big old school, and so gentrification came in, and it just moved a lot of people out, you know, so that's where a lot of the trauma and the mental health still stands for us as we fight here in Tulsa.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, the destruction.
It is such an incredible and important interview. Please, please watch it. YouTube is certainly not popping it up in people's feeds as they should be. I've put the link in the chat for you there on Twitch and on YouTube. So please check that out. I'm going to appeal to you once again. If you have the means at all, please help support Jordan and my road trip as we go out and report on the eviction moratorium ending, on unemployment ending in certain GOP states early, like Maryland, which normally is a blue state, by the way, but we have a Republican governor, Larry Hogan. The racist West Virginia Democrat shenanigans, Joe Manchin. Hopefully we'll get up with Paula Jean. Hopefully we'll get up with Nina Turner. We have some updated reporting with Breonna Taylor. It would really, really help us if you can go support us now at GoFundMe.com/status quo at any amount, large or small. This trip is going to cost several $1,000s. And when I mean several, I mean several. It's going to be, yes, John is going to be on the trip on camera, or not on camera, but as a, photojournalist. So yes, Henry, Paula Jean, we are huge Paula stans. So we're in contact with her. So yeah, if you're able to support us, you can also go to statusquo.live. Wherever it works for you is helpful. We really don't have the means truly to go on this trip, but we know that we'll be able to raise it, and we're absolutely determined to go on this trip, because who else is? No one. So go ahead and yeah, if you're new here, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. Everyone, thank Colin behind the scenes. Everyone, check out Jordan's full interview, which I've posted again. Join us if you haven't already, so you can get in on the Discord and the Ask Me Anything calls. Check out the Substack, which Jordan has put up several amazing pieces, and I will be doing so as well. statusquo.substack.com. It's hard to remember all these things. But thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'll be back tomorrow, and then Monday starts our infield reporting trip. So we're pretty excited. We're going to start out in Philly. So we have some good interviews we're lining up. See you guys later. Bye-bye.